Okay. Hi guys. Yes, welcome. Salam. Good evening. So today actually we're going to do a question related to the spreadsheet unit. Let me share the question. For the physical class students, I have already given the paper. So you all can just refer the questions on that paper. The online class people, what you called your tutors are dispatching next week. So you will be getting the tute next week. But again, all of you, whether you're physical or online or you're not my student or you're my student, all of you have to maintain a separate writing book for the paper class. Okay, that's where you're going to write the answers. I'll share the question. So this is the a third term paper from the grade 11 third term paper. It's a Western Province third term paper. I think if I'm not wrong, last year, 2024. Yeah, 2024, grade 11 third term paper, Western Province. So I want you to do the spreadsheet question. This is the question number two. Okay. Start from here and this whole page. I'll give you 10 minutes. In a moment, I'll draw the time. Okay, I want the what do you call time as well. Start doing the second question all of you. The participants. Yeah, you just refer the questions here and write down only the answer on your writing book. Give me a minute, we'll be starting. Wait. Okay, let's start. How can I get the two? Normally, if you're one of my theory class students, you'll be getting the cute, what do you call, in the class itself. So for a physical class student, in the physical class itself, you'll be getting it. If you're a home class student, you'll be getting it on with your fourth lesson tune. Fourth lesson tune is supposed to be dispatched this week. So along with the fourth lesson tune, you'll be getting it. If you're not attending my classes, normally you will not get the printed tune. Um, but I'll think of it and let you know later. I'm thinking of giving you all as well. If I have balance, I'll check. If I haven't, let you know. I got my remarks, 81. Good job. Congratulations. Nice. I saw some of your WhatsApp your marks. I didn't get to what you call reply all. I'll check your message as soon as possible. I saw majority had got someone messaging about getting a class high stall. It's okay. Let's start. Okay. The question is said with the aim of saving the cost of electricity consumed in his home and generating additional income, Mr. Fernando built an electricity generation system using solar panels in his home. Fine. From January 3rd, 2024, the electricity generation of the system was connected with the national grid, and thereafter, the details regarding the meter reading at the end of the specific month are given in the following spreadsheet. Okay, there's nothing significant mentioned in that paragraph, but let's further go ahead. The following clarifications regarding meter readings are provided for your understanding. Okay, meter reading consumption. So, meter reading consumption means the meter reading related to the electricity consumption at Mr. Fernando's house. Fine. Meter reading generation refers or export refers to the export electricity generation to the national grid by the solar system. Fine. There is nothing very big mentioned in that paragraph, but okay, let's go through the spreadsheet. So if you go through the spreadsheet, you can see there's something called unit rate. In front of unit rate, they have given a value. Then there's a column called meter reading date. So they have given a couple of dates here where the Mr. Fernando's meter has been read, and meter reading consumption. So this is more talking about how much of electricity Mr. Fernando has used. Mr. Fernando's meter's reading was at these respective dates. Okay, fine. The monthly consumption. So monthly consumption means on that respective month how much he has used. So I don't know that they have given you. Okay, they have given you that as well. Fine. So I'll explain how this monthly consumption is calculated when doing the first question. But yeah, monthly consumption means in that respective month how much of units he has used. Then we have something called meter reading generation. So that is how much of units the solar panel has generated. So on 31st January, this much of units, what do you call solar panel has generated. And when checking the February's, what do you call generated units, it was, February's reading, it was 1416. That's also fine. These are readings of that unit generated by the solar panel. And monthly generation is talk about on that respective month, how many units was the solar panel has generated. That's also fine. The monthly net export. What does net export means? 701 minus 110. Okay. Monthly net export means like the solar panel has generated around 701 units on that month. And on that month, he has what do you call used 110 units. So from what he has generated, if you reduce the amount he has used, I think that's how the monthly net export is given. That is, out of what is generated, what is the balance amount of units that was given to the electricity board. And then monthly income. So how much of money he got by giving this number of units to the electricity board. And then accumulated income. Accumulated income is something you almost have heard the word called accumulated in maths when you are doing this distribution, what you call frequency distribution sometimes. That is like in the beginning you can see it's 2001 to 21,867. But when you go for the second record, if you go to 44, if you look at the second, the 400, sorry, 44,437, that value is basically 21,000 plus 22,000, I guess. Like for example, in the distribution frequency, you must have learned something. Like if it's 0, 1, 2, 3, the accumulated value will be 0. Then this will be 0 plus 1, 1. Then this 0 plus 1 plus 2, that is 3. Then 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3, that's going to be 6. Kila, you might have recall done something like this, right? Then 6 plus 4 is 10, 10 plus 5 is 15. In distributing, sorry, cumulative frequency, yes. You must have learned. So that is something like that. And yeah, those are the data given in commerce statement of financial position. They also have learned. So always when you get a spreadsheet, just go through the spreadsheet and roughly see. You don't have to understand everything, okay? Just roughly go through the data and get familiar with the spreadsheet because that will make your work easy when you're doing the question. Because if you have zero idea about the spreadsheet or doing the question, that will make your work difficult. Okay. Perfect. Now let's answer questions based on the given spreadsheet. The first question they have said, the calculation of monthly electricity consumption in Mr. Fernando's house during the month of February is as follows. So if you want to calculate in February how much of units, what do you call Mr. Fernando has used, they are saying you can calculate that by using the below equation. So the equation says we have to get the meter reading, that is how much he has consumed in February, and then you have to take the meter reading of how much he has consumed in January. So from the February, if you subtract January, it will give you on February how much has been consumed. They have given you an equation here. And then they are asking you to write the formula to get the monthly consumption for February in cell C4. So if you look at the spreadsheet, this is talking about cell C4, which is this cell. So in this cell, we have a number called 105, right? They're asking how can we get this 105? Okay. So they're saying you can get this now. This is talking about monthly consumption in February, no? So we are going to write a formula inside the C4 cell. The cell I put a star mark. We're going to write a formula there to calculate or to get that value 105, right? Now, to find the monthly consumption of that cell is used. So the equation says the monthly consumption is equal to the meter reading consumption in February. So in February, the meter reading consumption is there in this cell, right? That is cell B4. So I can write a formula. Always you're writing formulas. Formula starts with equal symbol. So I'll start writing my formula with equal symbol. And then I had to mention, normally in formulas, try as maximum to use cell address rather than using values. Like for example, to get this 105, I can mention something like this as well. I can mention equals 215, which is the amount of reading in February. And they have said February reading minus January reading, no. So I can mention 215 minus 110 as well. That will give me the value 105, right? But normally not doing spreadsheet, normally not doing, sorry. But normally when you're doing this ones, normally you're doing spreadsheet formulas, you have to avoid writing, okay? You have to avoid writing what you call formulas with direct values. Give me a moment. Okay. You avoid writing formulas with cell address. You normally write formulas. So you avoid writing formulas with just direct values and go with cell address. Okay. Yes, if you use for now values in this question, it's wrong. So you write here the answer is equals and then the cell address that is equals B4 minus B4 has a February reading and January reading is there in B3. So it's going to be equals B4 minus B3. Directly you can write the answer here. You don't need to write any dollar symbol or anything. Nothing is needed. Directly you can mention the formula. So if you had mentioned something like this, put put 2 marks. No? I might increase the mark somewhere up or down, but yeah. If you have any questions, drop your question in the chat. So that's the answer for the question number 1. Others, if you have any doubts, drop your doubts in the chat. Next, the second question is saying the monthly net export is calculated by subtracting the monthly consumption from monthly generation. Okay, so they're saying how you can calculate the monthly net export, right? So monthly net export is talking about this F column, right? There's a monthly net export can be calculated by subtracting the monthly consumption from monthly generation, right? So write in the formula that should be entered in cell F3 to find the monthly net export in January. So for example, January is here. This is January. Okay. So in F3 cell, they own the monthly net export for January. Okay. So in that case, that's going to be something like subtracting the monthly consumption from the monthly generation. So monthly consumption, subtracting the monthly consumption from the monthly generation. Monthly generation for January is there in cell E3. So I'm going to mention there equals E3 equals E3, and you're subtracting the monthly consumption from that. From the monthly generation, I have to subtract the monthly consumption. Monthly consumption for January is there in cell C3. So this cell C3. So I'm going to mention equals E3 minus C3. This will give me the net export for January. You got this answer, mark it correct, put 2 marks there. Again, here also no need any dollar symbols. Just directly write the answer. If you have any questions, drop in the chat. Next, the monthly net export is multiplied by the unit price to calculate the monthly income. So here they are saying you can calculate the monthly income by taking the monthly net export and multiplying that by the unit price. Okay. If the unit price is shown in cell C in B1, so you can see in cell B1, this is B1. Okay, in cell B1, they have the unit price, it seems. And they ask me to write down the formula that should be entered in cell G3. G3 is here to find the monthly income for January. Okay. Now, this question has something interesting. I saw some reply. Okay. In Roman number 2, what happens if we write the other way around? It's wrong. Because they have mentioned you have to subtract the monthly consumption from the monthly generation. Okay. Wait. Now, first of all, I'll show you the wrong answer. After I show the wrong answer, I'll show the correct answer, right? Huh? For Roman number 3, when you say monthly net export is multiplied by unit price to calculate the monthly income, right? So for G3, if you say G3 cell, respective to G3 cell, if you're going to go and find the monthly net export is there in F3 cell. So you might be like something like F3 multiplied by unit price. So unit price is there in the B1 cell. Now, if you directly read that and write the formula, this is what you might write, equals F3 into B1. Okay. But always you keep in mind when you're creating spreadsheets. Okay. So monthly consumption C3, right? Yes. Okay. Again, I'll tell you. If I tell you something, right, what you call profit is calculated by subtracting. Okay. If I tell you something like profit is calculated by subtracting expense from income. If I said a profit is calculated by subtracting the expense from the income, will you say P equals E minus I? It is correct. No. What it means is you're subtracting the expense from the income. So you take the income first. From that income, you're subtracting the expense. Same thing here. You're subtracting the monthly consumption from the monthly generation. So you take the monthly generation first. This is E3. And from E3, you're supposed to subtract the C3. That's why E3 minus C3. Got it? Okay, perfect. Coming back to this question. Now, if you mention here F3 into B1, it will give you the answer correctly, the G3 cell. It will give you the answer in the G3 cell correctly. But always, creating spreadsheets, to make sure that spreadsheet is something that was made to make our work easy, right? So and in spreadsheet, we have something called formulas itself to make our work easy. And in spreadsheet, we can use cell address inside formulas to make our work more easy. What I mean by that is, for example, if I'm going to write here a formula to find the monthly income for January, Practically tell me, is it something, is it like what do you call, is it a good practice to again write from scratch another formula for February, another formula for March, another formula for April? For each and every cell, if I go and write formulas individually, is that a suitable approach? No, that is not a suitable approach. Because if you take what you call spreadsheets, one of the what you call features spreadsheet has is, in spreadsheet applications we have is, we can copy a formula from one cell to another cell, and we can make the cell address change respectively. What I mean by change respectively means, for example, if I have a what do you call spreadsheet like this, sorry, let's see if I have spreadsheet in such that, okay, let's say I have a spreadsheet in such that I have here the value of a person's income for a respective month. Then another column, I have a person's expense for another respective month. And let's say another what do you call column, I want to have the profit. Okay. So I can write here formula section. Let's say, for example, these are A column, these are B column, these are C column, these are row number 1, row number 2, row number 3, row number 4, row number 5. Imagine these are spreadsheet below. Okay. So I can write here formula saying the profit is equal to A2 minus B2. So it will take the value we have, the income for the first month, and it will subtract the expense, and it will give the formula, the profit correctly. So what's special about spreadsheets are, when you copy this formula from this cell and then you paste it to the cell below, the cell address will change. So how the cell address is going to change? The cell address is going to change respectively. Meaning, when you're going to go one cell down, for example, when I'm going to copy the formula from here and paste it here, I'm going one cell down. No, I'm going one cell down. So if I go one cell down from the copying cell to the pasting cell, I'm going one cell down. When I go one cell down, even the cell address also will go one cell down. So in this cell, A2 will become A3 because the cell below A2 is A3 now, and B2 will become B3. It'll go one cell down. Similarly, if I copy the formula from there and if I paste it here, okay, let's say I paste it here. Now, if I'm pasting here, this is one cell, this is another cell, this is another cell, and this is another cell. You know how the column 3 is going to have. So when I'm going to paste from this cell, from the A2 cell, so when I'm going to copy from the A2 cell, and if I'm going to come, sorry, not A2, C2. If I'm going to copy from the C2 cell, and if I'm going to go and paste here, that is the C5 cell. Okay, if I'm going to copy from C2 cell, the formula I'm going to copy from C2 cell. And if I'm going to paste the formula in C5 cell, what's happening? We are going 1, look at the change properly. We are going 1, 2, 3. We are going 3 cells down now. We are going 3 cells down. So when we are going 3 cells down, what will happen is, even in the cell address we have in the formula we have multiple cell address used now. Even the cell address will also go 3 cells down. So from A2 cell, if you go 3 cells down, from A2, if you go 1 cell down, A3, 2 cells down, A4, 3 cells down, A5. So A2 will become, automatically A2 will change to A5. Similarly, B2, when it goes 3 cells down, again 1 cell down, B3, 2 cells down, B4, 3 cells down, B5. Automatically B2 will become B5. That is a feature spreadsheet applications have. When you copy a formula from one cell, when you paste it to another cell, automatically the cell address will change just how your movement is. If you go 3 cells down, cell address will go 3 cells down. If you go one cell to the right side, cell address will also go one cell to the right. If you go right side and down both, that will also follow the respective pattern of how you're jumping. Okay, the same pattern is going to follow. So what's advantages of that is, let's say I'm having the income here, expense here, income here, expense here. I don't have to individually go and modify the formula. Automatically, let's say this is talking about January, this is talking about February, this is talking about March, this is talking about April. Or I will write the formula only for January. And after I write the formula for January, I'll copy it to all the cells, February, March, April. I'll copy for all these cells. Once I copy for all these cells, automatically it will modify the formula and give me the respective month's profit, respective month's profit, respective month's profit. We can do that. Now, these actually, the what you call spreadsheet has this feature to make our work easy. But certain situations, we don't want it to change. We want this to block. Right? There are situations where we don't want it to change. Okay. So, for example, if you look at this spreadsheet we have here, okay, if I copy this monthly income, no, like I wrote in the if I had the formula equals F3 into B1. Okay, now I don't know, I'm writing the wrong answer first here. Let's say if I had the formula as equals F3 into B1, let's say this was the formula I had in my, we're writing the formula inside G3 cell. No? So let's say inside my G3 cell, let's say this was the formula I wrote equals F3 into B1. Sorry, F3 into B1. Let's say this was the formula I had. Now, this same formula, if I copy it from this, what do you call G3 cell, which is this cell, green color highlighted cell, and if I go and let's say paste it here to G10 cell, if I paste to G10 cell, in G10 cell, I'm expecting to find the monthly income for which month? Now, in G1, G3 cell, I'm expecting to find the monthly income for January. Now, if I go and paste it for G10 cell, here I'm expecting to find the monthly income for which month? Exactly. If you look at the spreadsheet properly, you can see that's corresponding to the July month. Yes, correct. That's corresponding to the July month. So then my expectation is to find the what you call the monthly income for July. Now, if you go and see the formula change, I told you formula will change just like how you're jumping now. Now to go from that cell, if you look at here, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The change I'm happening here is I'm going 7 cells down. This is the only change you can see. To go from the copying cell to pasting cell, the only change you can see is going 7 cells down. So I told you normally in spreadsheet what happens is when you change, when you copy a formula from one place to another place, it's not just the formula, it's not just that the formula will be copied, even the cell address will change. Okay. So what will happen is F3 cell will also go, what do you call? This F3 cell will also go 7 cells down. So from the F3 cell, if you go 7 cells down, that will become F10. And from the B1 cell, if you go 7 cells down, that will become B8. Okay. Now let's go and check, is this formula correct or not? If you go and check in F10 cell, F10, in F10 cell, do we have the correctly? Now, normally to find the, what do you call the question in Roman number 3, they have mentioned to find the monthly net export, you have to take the unit price and multiply the unit price by the monthly income, right? So I have taken here, first of all, F3 is representing the income and B1 is representing the unit price. Now. Okay. So tell me, when I copied from G3 cell and pasted to G10 cell, this formula, when I copied from G3 cell and pasted to G10 cell, have I got the cell address for the monthly income? Is that cell address correct? Is F10 representing the correct cell address for the monthly income for July? Is F10 representing the correct cell address for the monthly for July? Correct. It's correct. What is wrong in this? Those who are saying wrong, then what is the correct one should be? If you're saying F10 is wrong, then what is the correct one it should be? That is correct. Okay. Because you can see in F10 we have correctly the July's monthly income. So this is actually correct. There is no mistakes in F10. Okay. F10 is correctly representing the July month's monthly income. Sorry, monthly net export. Okay. But in B8 cell, now if you take the formula I told you, first thing is talking about the income. Second thing is talking about unit price. No. Tell me, in the B8 cell, do I have the unit price of the electricity? One unit's price in B8. B8 is somewhere here. Is this 671 talking the unit price of what is unit rate of the electricity? No, that is wrong. Now tell me, when I'm calculating the monthly income from one month to another month to another month, I want the this what you call net export value, this to change, automatically modify, fine. But tell me from month to month, when you're jumping, this unit rate, is it going to change from month as per the given spreadsheet? Tell me the unit rate, is it changing from month to month? Even though the net export has been changing from month to month, is the unit rate changing from month to month? Is the unit rate a value that's changing from month to month? Exactly. No, it is actually a fixed value, right? So in that case, F10, F3 becoming F10, is that a problem for us? First of all, F3 changing to F10, is that a problem for us? Now, when you copy it for, when you're going to copy for the other months, okay, that first thing is changing. No? So if F3 changed, become F10 is a problem for us? No. The B1 change into B8, is that a problem for us? B1 becoming B8, is that a problem for us? Yes, that is a problem. So in that case, I want to make sure the B1's value does not change. Okay. Now, if you want a part of the cell address not to change, that is where we add the dollar symbol. Now, compare the copying cell's formula. This is the cell I copied from, and these are formula in the pasting cell now. Compare both of the formulas, the copying cell's formula and pasting cell's formula, and tell me what do I want to actually not what do I want to keep fixed? What is in that formula out of the cell, out of the column name? Now, if you take a cell address has two things. One is a column name and row number. Tell me what is the thing that is changing and I don't want it to change. What is the thing that's getting changed and I want to stop that from changing? What is it? Is it the column name or is it the row number? Look at that B1 cell and tell me what is the thing that is getting changed, but I don't want that to change. Column name or row number? Exactly. When you compare both the cells, you can see B and B is same. There's no issues in B. But the one is becoming 8. I want to stop that one changing from 8. Normally, if you take a cell address has two things, a column name and row number. If you want a column name not to change, in front of the column name, you add the dollar symbol. If you want the row number not to change, in front of the row number, you have to add the dollar symbol. So the correct formula would be equals F3 into B$1. This is a minimal requirement. If I add this formula and copy for other cells, if I had this formula inside the G3 cell, and now if I copy the formula for all other months, then every month will give me the correct value. Okay, this is a minimal requirement. But if you notice here, what do you call? I'm here blocking only the row number changing, because what happened? That was a problem I faced when I copied from one cell to another cell. The row number changed, and I used the dollar symbol in front of the row number to block it. Even if you mention dollar symbol in front of both, also it's correct. Like for example, if you had mentioned something like equals F3 into $B$1, this is also correct. But this $B is not compulsory. Why I'm saying not compulsory is because that is not going to change. You always use the dollar symbol if you want to stop something from changing. Is a B changing here? It's not changing. So because it's not changing, there is no reason to stop it from. There is no reason to add the dollar symbol. But dollar symbol for number one, that is getting changed. To stop that from changing only, I added that. So in terms of minimal requirement, this is the minimum requirement. Okay, F3 into B$1. Adding the dollar symbol in front of one, that is compulsory. But if you want to add in front of B, that's optional. If you want, both are correct, but this is a minimum requirement. If you add this also, it's more than enough. You can swap the order. Okay, you can, without mentioning F3 into B1, you can mention B1 into F3 as well. I mean B$1 into F3 as well. That's not a problem. But tell me, are you clear on how I got the answer? Show a separate picture of the question as Archik. Is it possible to write F3 into 37? No, wrong. In spreadsheet itself, the reason why they have included this value is unit price. Can you guarantee that unit price will be the same thing lifelong? Even next year, the year after, from the day you were born to the day you died, can you guarantee that unit price is going to be a fixed value? Exactly, Murshid. No, you can't guarantee that. So therefore, that the reason why they have included here the unit rate itself as a what do you call value here is to use this as a variable. In programs we have something called variables, right? These are the same purpose, so that we can use as a variable. So if the unit rate changes, you can just come and modify only one place. You don't have to. If imagine you went in at 37. If you wrote 37, and imagine you have to what do you call modify the let's say 37 now has changed to 48. Example, let's say from next month onwards. I mean from next year onwards, they have decided that it's going to be 48. Then what you should do? You might have to come and modify all these cells. You might have to come and modify the value. Okay. So that is not a suitable approach. Again, avoid writing the unit rate. I mean, avoid writing values in a formula as maximum as possible. Try to go with cell address most of them. Okay. So again, keep in mind, if you just mention B1, your answer is going to be wrong. The correct answer, you can swap and write both the sides. The correct answer is, you can either mention like this, equals F3 into B$1. This is also correct. Or else mentioning equals F3 into $B$1. That's also correct. You can swap the order. Okay, you can put the B first and sorry B$1 first and F3 second. You can swap the order of the cell address, not a problem. But yeah, these are the possible correct answer. So out of these two, if you had mentioned one, you'll be getting the marks. 2 marks there. If you have any other questions, drop in the chat. Huh? Okay, I will check. Next, accumulated income for each month is obtained by calculating the sum. Sum means addition. Okay, sum of the monthly income from January to the respective month. Fine. Thus, the relevant formula is given the form of equals function cell 1 to cell 2 to get the accumulated income for H3 for 30th January. Okay. So in the H3 cell, where is the H3 cell? This. In the H3 cell, they have the accumulated income for January, it seems. Okay, fine. And it is copied to H11. That's also fine. By the way, in this Roman number, no. Write down the formula to get the accumulated income for the month of January in the cell H3. Okay, they want to write the formula there. So the accumulated income is from January up to the respective month. So then they're going to write this not just by adding two cell letters like equals A plus B, M and MA. They're going to write using a function. So normally out of the functions we have, syllabus, you'll have the min function, max function, sum functions, average function, and count function and count A. There are 6 functions you'll have learned. Out of the functions you'll have learned, tell me which function do we use to calculate sum of values or addition of values? Correct. Sum is a function we use to calculate the addition of values. Correct. So I'm going to use a so-called sum function and write a formula here. Okay. So I'm going to write here first of all equal sum. And normally inside the sum, what you call a function, we normally you can mention a collection of cell address. Like you can mention A3, B1, B2, killer. You can mention a collection of cell address as well. Or as what you do is you can also mention a cell range, like A1 to B1, A1 to C1. Like you can mention a range as well. Okay. So what I'm going to do first of all here is I have to mention here the cell range I have to add. One thing I have to keep in my mind is this same function or the same formula is going to be copied for the other months as well, which means I'm going to write it for January. But after I write it for January, I will be copying it for February, March, April, May, likewise. So for example, if I copy it and paste it here, this is represented in the May month now. So this value should be basically equal to from January until May. Okay. So if you break this idea, it should be basically giving you the sum of January to current month. Like if you break this from the mathematical part to English part, the idea is basically it should give you the sum from January to the current month. That's how it works, right? Okay. So for example, if I take this value, this is representing from January to the current month. What is the current month here? It's respective to the May. If I take this formula, it's talking about January to the current month, which is August. Okay, sorry, August, January to August. Okay. Now using this idea, let's try the formula. Look at the spread. Again, I'll first of all write the wrong formula, then I'll show you the correct formula. Okay. First of all, tell me, if you look at the spreadsheet, in which cell address do we have the January's monthly income? Which cell address shows in January how much of monthly income was obtained? Correct. That is there in the G3 cell. Exactly. The G3 cell, we have the January cell address. So I'm going to mention equal sum G3. Now I told you, you have to find the sum from January to the current month. Now I'm writing this formula in the H3 cell. Okay. If I'm writing the formula in the H3 cell, H3 is this, no? Is the H3 cell. If I'm writing the formula for H3 cell, if I'm referring to current month, okay, now I said from January to the current month. If I'm saying from January to the current month, what is the current month respective to the H3 cell? What is the current month we are referring to? What is the month? January, February, March. Whom are we referring to? Exactly. When you say current month, we are referring to January. So January's monthly income is there. That current month's monthly income is there in which cell? Respect to the highlight, what I wrote in green color here. Okay. Or sorry, circle here. Correct. That's going to be G3. That's going to be G3. Okay. But if I write a formula that is equal sum G3 to G3, there's a problem. Okay. The problem is when I copy this formula from, let's say, G3, from H3 cell, if I copy it from H3 cell and let's say I go and paste it onto the H7 cell, okay. When I go and paste or copy from H3 and paste to H7, copy from H3, and if I go and paste to H7, there will be a change in the formula. Now, before I go there, in the H3 cell, we are finding the monthly income for January, accumulated income for January. H7 cell, we are finding the accumulated income as per May. Okay. In H3 cell, we are finding the accumulated income as per January. In H7 cell, we are going to find the accumulated income up to May. Now, the formula I wrote in the January, so H3 cell was something as equals sum G3 to G3. And I told you the breakdown of why I wrote this formula like this is the breakdown was, I was like, the formula means the addition of values from January to the current month. From January to the current month. From January to the current month. Okay. Now, let's leave this formula aside for a moment and tell me, when I'm going from H1 cell to, when I'm going to copy the formula from H3 cell, and if I'm going to paste the formula in H7 cell, are we jumping any columns? When you go from H3 cell to H7 cell, are there any columns being changed? No, both of them are in the H column. You can see both the copying cell, pasting cell, both in the H column. Are there any change in the, row numbers? Are we jumping rows? Yes, exactly. We are jumping rows. Tell me, if you're supposed to go from the row number 3 to row number 7, what is the change happening? Are you going to go up or down or right or left? Up means how many cells up, down how many cells? If it's right, how many cells? What is the change? How can I go from row number 3 to row number 7? Yes, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7. I had to go 4 cells down. Exactly. To go from the row number 3 to row number 4, I'm going 4 cells down. And I told you, when you copy a formula from one cell to another cell, the same movement, okay, the movement to go from the copying cell to pasting cell, the same movement will apply for all the cell address. So in that case, in the pasting cell, the formula will be equal sum, and G3 will go 4 cells down. From G3, if you go 4 cells down, it will become G7. And this will also become G7. Now, I told you in this formula, the first value is representing the January cell address. The second value is representing the current month cell address. Now, let's go back to the spreadsheet and see whether this current month is, let's see whether this is correct. Let's go and check, is this correct, okay? If you come back to the spreadsheet, tell me in the G7 cell, look at G7 cell and tell me in the G7, that is this one. In G7 cell, do I have the, monthly income for May? In the G7 cell, do I have the monthly income for May? Or technically, I wrote the formula here. So the current monthly income, do I have? Yes. So that is correct. This part is correct. Now, as per the formula, the first cell address should have January's income. Look at this cell address and tell me, is this cell address representing the January's, monthly income? Is the first cell address represent January's monthly income? No, it is not. So that means when I'm copying the formula from H3, H3 is finding for January. H4 is finding for February. Okay. If you look at here, H3 is calculating for January. H4 is calculating for February. This is March. This is April. Then May. Then June. Then July. Then August. Then September. The values are changing now. Sorry, March, April, May, June, July. Okay. So you can see the values are changing. Now, when I'm copying the formula from one cell to another cell, another cell, you can see the value that's there in the current month, it has to get updated. Okay, the value in the current month, yes, it has to get updated. For example, when I wrote the formula H3 cell, I had the current month in G3. When I wrote the formula for H7 cell, the current month was representing G7. So that is correct. But the problem I had here was G3 should not change to G7 because when I say January is what do you call January's income, for everyone I had to mention January's income. Whether it's for whether it's gonna whether I have to write the formula here or here or here or here or here. Wherever I'm going to write the formula, that the word January is going to be common for all of them, right? So in that case, I want this G3 not to change. If I want the G3 not to change, what I should do, I said, if you want in a cell address, if you want a part of a cell address, or if you want a cell address not to change, you add the dollar symbol. If you compare the copying cell and pasting cell, you can see the 3 became 7. I don't want it to change. I wanted the G3 to be G3 because G3 is representing January now. So I want G3 to be G3 itself. So because I want the 3 not to become 7, to block the 3 changing, I'm going to add the dollar symbol in front of it. So I'm going to mention something equals G $3 to G3. Now, if I have the formula like this, now what happens is when I copy the formula from here and paste it, this 3 will not change. The dollar symbol will be like a protection. It will not allow the 3 to change. Okay. If you want, you can put over protection and make it what you call $G $3. But that's like over protection. That's like extra, not compulsory. The compulsory is just $G because the dollar is basically what it's doing is it's blocking someone from changing. Now, for every month in counting the accumulated income, for every month, this January is going to be fixed. But what's going to change? This current month cell address is only going to change. So the current month cell address we have to mention normally, but January cell address we have to mention is dollar symbol. So normally using dollar symbol, referencing cell address like this, we call this process of referencing cell address as absolute cell reference. And without dollar symbol, when you're going to actually reference a cell, we call this as relative cell referencing. So the purpose of absolute cell referencing itself is to block a cell, block a whole cell address or block a part of a cell address from not changing. Simple. Okay. So the correct formula is going to be equal sum this or this. Is that clear of that? So it's going to be equals sum. January cell address for everyone is going to be January. So G $3. And second is current month cell address, that is G3. This is one answer. Another answer you can write is equal sum $G $3 to G3. So now what will happen is when I copy the formula from one month and paste it to another month, that second cell address will change, but the first cell address is going to be the same thing for everyone. The reason the first cell address is not going to change is because I have absolute cell referencing. So either one of these, if you wrote, you get 2 marks there. Drop your questions in the chat now. Anyone having any questions here? Is there any questions? Drop in the chat. I'm going to go for the next question, but regarding if you have doubts, drop in the chat now. Consider the following spreadsheet. This should be Roman number 5. The question is consider the following spreadsheet. Can you please show how it works? Okay. So for example, I had something like this. Now, for example, let's say I had a spreadsheet as let's say the same old one I'll take. I'll write here itself. So for example, let's say I have here as numbers. And let's say I'm going to have here something called accumulated numbers. Okay. I'm going to have some random numbers here. For example, let's say 37, 52, 100, 20, 17, 15. Okay, let's say I'm having some random numbers here. Okay. So in that case, let's say the spreadsheet, and let's say in this spreadsheet, we are referring to The column A here, column B here, row number 1, row number 2, row number 3, row number 4, row number 5, row number 6, row number 7 here. Okay. So what I mean by accumulated numbers is I'm saying from A to, from the first number up to the current number, the total. First number to current number, the total. Okay. So here, what I want here is I want the answer to be equal to 37. Here I want the answer to be equal to something like first number to the current number. So 37 plus 52. Now here when I say first number to the current number, I mean the idea which I'm expecting is 37 plus 52 plus 100. And when I say here first number to the current number, here I'm meaning from 37 plus 52 plus 100 plus 20. That's my idea. That's my expectation. Okay. So before I write the formula, can you understand the expectation we have from what are we expecting by this the word accumulated numbers? Is that part clear? Because without knowing what you want, okay, without knowing the problem, if you're going to understand the solution, then there won't be it doesn't make sense. First of all, tell me, did you get the idea of the problem? Okay, perfect. Now I'll tell you how you can find a solution. Now, what happens here is I told you we are going to take the additions of first number to current number. First number to the current number. No. If I take this specific cell, this is one cell, this is another cell, these are all different cells. No. If I take that first cell, if I'm referring to first number, the first number is there inside bit cell address. Again, keep in your mind, this is column A, this is column B, the row number 1, the row number 2, and this is row number 3. So using that idea, tell me, if I am referring to this 37 here, this cell, respective to this cell, if I'm going to write a formula, what is the cell address of the first number? The first number in that range of values, 37 to 100, those range of values, the first number is there in which cell address? A2, not B2, it's A2. Okay, because the first number you can see it's there, the A2 cell. The first A2 is only first number is there. Is that clear? I'm talking about the numbers that has to be added. The numbers that has to be added, the first number is there in the A2 cell. Correct? Yes, perfect. So we are saying the first number is A2 to the current number. Okay. Now, what do you call the current number? If you take the current cell address, I mean, now I'm writing the formula for this row. No, respective to this row, what is the current number? The current number, I mean, with respect to that row, where is the number we have in which cell? That was then A2. Okay, that was then A2. Leave that thing aside and now let's come for this row. If you take this row, if I'm going to write a formula here, in this row, if I'm going to write a formula, the first number is there again with cell address. Respect to that row, if I'm talking about adding all the accumulated values, the first number is then with cell address. Again A2, correct. And respect to that row, the current number is then with cell address. The value respect to that row, that is this value. This value is then with cell address. Respect to that row, I'm saying. Respect to that row, the number is there. And I'm using the word number because this column name is called number. Okay. So respect to that row, which I'm writing the formula. To this row, I'm writing the formula. The current number is there in its cell address. Or indirectly, I'm asking what is cell address for this number? The row's number. A5, exactly. Okay. It's A5. So what I mean is, when I'm adding the numbers, here, this 37, there in that cell, the formula should be in such that equal sum A2 to A2. From the first row to the current row. If I'm taking this fellow, here I want the formula to be something like equal sum from A2 up to A3. Here I want this formula to be something like equal sum A2 to A4. This is my expectation. Is that idea clear of what we're expecting? Here it should be only 37. Here 37 plus 52. Is that part clear? Okay. So now when I'm going to write the formula, okay, now when I'm going to write the formula, If you notice here, for all these rows, this first value is common. A2, 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 A2. For all the rows, the first value is common. But it's changing is the second value. Okay. So I can keep the second value as it is. So when I copy from one row to another row, it gets changed. So I can keep the second value as it is, and I can keep the first value fixed. So to block that first value, now by default, I told you by default, copy a formula from one cell and paste it onto another cell. By default, when you copy a formula from one cell and paste it to another cell, the cell address change. So if I want the cell address A2 not to change, I'm going to add the dollar symbol for it. So it's going to be $A, $2. Again, the $A is not compulsory. So I'll just write A2, $2, $2. So now what will happen is I'm blocking this number 2 from changing. And then I'm going to mention the current cells, current rows, number, cell address. That's going to be A2. So if I write this formula, if I go and write this formula inside the B2 cell, and let's say I copy this formula from B2 cell, and let's say I go and paste it onto the B5 cell. This is the B5. Huh? If I copy it from B2, and let's say I go and paste it to the B5 cell. I told you when you copy a formula from one cell and paste it to another cell, the cell address change respectively. To go from B2 cell to B5 cell, you have to go 3 cells down. From B2 to B5, you're going 3 cells down. When you go 3 cells down, your cell address also goes 3 cells down. Okay. So from A2 cell, you have to go 3 cells down, A2 cell, you have to go 3 cells down. But when you're trying to, in this first cell address, when you're trying to go 3 cells down, you can see we have a dollar symbol in front of the cell address now. So that dollar symbol will be like, okay, this row number is locked. I can't allow you to change it. So the A2 will be as it is there here, $2. Okay, this A2 will not change. The reason this A2 will not change is because there's a dollar symbol protecting it. Dollar symbol acts like a protection layer and it stops something from getting changed. So A2 will be the A2. For the second A2, this has been relatively referenced. There is no any protection done for it. So that is for that, that cell address will change respectively. So if you're going 3 cells down, from A2, if you go 3 cells down, that's going to be A5. So you copy the formula from here and paste it like this. That sum A2 to A2 will become A1 to, sorry, A2 to A5. Is that clear? Perfect. Okay. Oh, no, this is AB question, sorry. So one of I told. So Roman number 4A and Roman number 4B again. This is Roman number 4A and B. Consider the following spreadsheet segment that shows the value of the variable X in a cell range B1 to K1 and the values of Y corresponding to X. Okay. They are saying that shows the values of variable X. So there's variable called X, it seems. And these values of X, the values of X is there in a cell from B1 to K1. Okay, these are the values of X, it seems. These are the values of X, B1 to K1. Okay. And the values of Y corresponding to X. So these are the values of Y. Y is there in here. Below X values, the Y values are there, it seems. Okay, fine. If Y is equal to X squared plus 5X plus 4. Okay, here they have mentioned how you can find the value of Y. Y is equal to X squared plus 5X plus 4. Write the formula to be entered in cell B2. This is B2 cell. To get the value of Y, note that this formula is copied to B2 to K2. Okay, fine. First of all, let's forget about the copying part and write the formula directly. Okay. If you're going to write the formula directly, it's going to be something like this. No? They're saying Y, the value of Y, I'm going to find here. Value of Y is equal to, first of all, X squared. So I'm going to write it equals X squared. What is X squared respectively? That is B1 squared. So I'm going to write it B1 to the power 2. This symbol is called the exponential symbol. Huh? Exponential is a symbol used to represent powers. So B1 squared. So this is done. X squared is done. Plus 5X. So I'm going to mention it plus 5 into X. X is there in what cell again? Again B1 cell. So 5 into B1. This is also done. Plus 4. Okay. So if I write this formula equals b1 to the power 2 plus 5 times b1 plus 4, that will give me this value of y, right? Before I validate and check is this correct or wrong, first of all, I will clear how I got this answer, all of you. Yes or no? I will clear how I got this answer. Yes or no? If you have any questions, drop in the chat. Huh? Now, let's see. They have mentioned a point here that note that this formula is copied to the b2 to k2 as well. How square 2 came? Why they have mentioned x squared? No. When you say x squared, the meaning of x squared is what? X to the power 2. To represent powers, we use exponential symbol. Got it? Again, I'll explain. Listen. The formula has mentioned here equals x squared plus 5x plus 4. Okay. Equals x squared plus 5x plus the value of y is equal to x squared plus 5x plus 4. So when I'm going to find the value of y, when I'm going to find the value of y here in this cell, first of all, I have to get the value of x and find the value of x squared. To find the value of x squared, first of all, to go and see in which cell we have x. We have the value of x respectively. Respectively, the value of x is there in the b1 cell. Okay. So I take the value of x, which is b1, and I'll find the square of it. To mention square, you can't just go and write b1 squared like this in formulas. To represent squares in formula, you have to use a symbol called the exponential, like a triangle like this, like an arrowhead towards the top. That's called exponential symbol. Okay. So b1 to the power 2. This is how I'm representing the x squared part. b1 is representing the x, and power 2 is represented by exponential 2. Okay. So I'm mentioning b1 to the power 2 plus 5x. Now, when you say 5x, mathematically, 5x, right? 5 into x, no. So I'm going to mention plus 5 into x. So x is there again in the b1 cell address. When you say x, you're representing the value in the b1 cell. So plus 5x plus 4. So here what I'm doing is I'm replacing the value of x with the corresponding cell address representing the value of x. So when I'm writing the formula here, when I'm asking, okay, respective to that, what is the value of x? They're asking minus 2. If I take this value, and for him, if I ask for the respective value of x, he will be taking 2. Right? That's the respective value of x, respective value of x, respective value of x. So in this formula, what I've done is, because I'm writing the formula inside the B2 cell, respective to B2 cell, the value of x is then x1, B1 cell. That is why instead of I wrote the same formula without using x, I use B1 as a cell address and wrote this formula. Let's now check, is this formula correct or wrong? They said that this formula will be copied across the multiple columns, right? So for example, let's say I copy this formula from here. And let's say I paste it here. If I copied it from B2 cell, and if I paste it onto F2 cell, you can see row numbers are not changing, but there's a column name changing. So B to F, B to C, C to D, D to E, E to F. I'm going to go 4 columns towards the right. I'm going to go 4 columns towards the right. So when I'm going to go 4 columns towards right, even my cell address will go 4 columns towards the right. So in that case, B1 will become B to C, C to D, D to E, E to F. It will become F1 to the power 2 plus 5 times F1, because B1 is becoming F1 plus 4. Let's see in F1, do we have the exact value of X? Yes. So therefore, this is correct. So we can write the formula like this, equals B1 to the power 2 plus 5 times B1 plus 4. There is no need of any absolute self-referencing. Directly you can write this. Anyone have any questions here? Is it compulsory to put brackets? Yes. The reason is because if you don't put the brackets, what's going to happen here is, you all know BODMAS, right? As per the BODMAS, it will do the, what do you call, multiplication first. Sorry. Oh, wait, in this question, because obviously we are going to multiplication first. Here, there is no problem. In this question, you can write without the brackets as well, because whether you add the brackets or not, still exponential will be done first and multiplication will be done second. So in this question, not a problem. But I would recommend you to add brackets because in certain other questions, there could be issues. In this question, there is no need of brackets because whether you add the brackets or don't add the brackets in both the questions, it's the same. How do you know the exact value? Because I just replaced now. For example, what is the formula given here? The formula had mentioned here. Okay, again, look at the question. The formula had mentioned here. The value of y can be found. The value of y can be found by taking x squared, and for x squared, we add 5x plus 4. Okay. Now, the question is asking us to write the formula in the B2 cell. They ask us to write the formula B2 cell. Okay. So look at this spreadsheet and tell me if you take the B2 cell, that is basically we are talking about the value of this one. This is the B2 cell, column B, row number 2. Okay. If you look at this B2 cell, tell me respective to this cell, in which cell address do I have the value of x? Respective to the yellow color highlighted cell, the value of x is there in which cell? That's fine, but not compulsory. Yes. The first column is talking about the values of x. So first row is talking about the values of x. Second row is talking about the values of y. Okay. So if I'm taking respective to the highlighted column, highlighted cell, what is the value of x? The respective value of x is there here. Because this column is talking about x. And so the first row is talking about x. And second row is talking about y. So respective to the minus 2y, the value in x is there in the B1 cell. Okay. So in this formula, they're saying the value of y can be found. That means the value that should be there in the B2 cell is there. The value that should be there in the B2 cell can be found by taking the value of that respective to x. So respect to that cell, if you take the x value, it's there in this cell. What is this cell's address? B1. So I replace x squared with B1 to the power 2. I'm writing x squared as B1 to the power 2. Is this part clear? First of all, x squared becoming B1 to the power 2. So again, keep in mind, this triangle symbol is representing powers, B1 to the power 2. It's like x to the power 2. It's a bracket essential. Go and watch this recording, you'll get the answer. Tell me, are you clear of how x squared became B1 to the power 2? Perfect. Right. Then plus will become plus as it is. There's no change. Multiplication, I mean, symbols, no. Number 5x. When you say 5x means what? 5x means 5 into x. That's the meaning of 5x, no? So I'm going to write here plus 5 into the multiplication symbol. Okay, 5 into x, right? Again, respective to the yellow color highlighted by, the value of x is then which cell? In the B1 cell. So I'm going to write the cell address containing the value of x. The cell address containing the value of x is there in B1 cell. So I'm again going to write it into B1 plus 4. So the formula is going to be, can't we put 2 above B1? What do you mean by B1 squared? What do you mean by B1 to the power 2? To perform calculations, you need something. What do you need? Normally, to perform calculations, what do you need? What do you mean by addition, subtraction, multiplication, division? What do you call all these as? In general, what do you call these as? I ask, correct? Most are correct. Others have forgotten. These are called operators. Without operators, can you perform calculations? Are correct? Are you correct? No, without operators, can you perform calculations? No. So if I come and write a 5 and 5 like this, can I expect you to think that 5 and 5 means 5 plus 5? No. In spreadsheet, if you want to want to perform a calculations, you have to use an operator. When you mention b1 to the power 2, first of all, you can't mention b, you can't even type b1 to the power 2 inside a formula. Type and show me a formula like this, first of all. Go to a spreadsheet application, Google Sheet, or Excel, Hari. Try to type something and show like this. You can't type something like this. Okay. If you type something like this, then what will happen is it will not be b1 to the power 2. It will be like b1 2, where 2 is written as a, we call that as a superscript value, not power. You can write b1 and number 2 written as superscript value. That's a different story. That's a bit complex. You should know Unicode for that, all those stuff. So forget about that. Okay. But if you write b1 to the power 2, spreadsheet applications will not perform the calculation. It will consider as b12. Even though you have put as like this, if you're going to type this indirectly, you can't type, but indirectly there's a way you can type. If you go and type like that in a spreadsheet application, it will consider this number 2 as superscript 2. So it will take the whole number is b12 actually. Okay. So in spreadsheets, if you want to perform calculations, you need to use operators. The operator used to represent powers is exponential. So without the exponential symbol, you can't mention powers. So there is nothing called b1 square. You can't write b1 square inside a formula. Keep that in your mind. Got it? So always, if you want to mention powers, like x squared, in formulas, you write it x to the power 2. Clear? Perfect. Anyways, anyone having any doubts still regarding this formula? Plus 5 times b1. Again, bracket is not important, as I told. In this question, bracket is not important because this question with the brackets and without the brackets, in both the situations, the calculation is done as we want. But there are certain situations, if you don't use the brackets, because of BODMAS, or if you don't use the brackets, it can get messed up. So depending on the question, it can vary. But yeah, here with the brackets, without the brackets, both are correct. If you did either one of them, put 1 mark there. And doubts, stop the chat. Name the appropriate chart type in spreadsheet software to represent the cell range A1 to K2. A1 to K2. That is the values of X and values of Y. To represent the values of X and Y. Okay. Because there are two values, because there are pair of values, because you represent two sets of data, and they have just talked about representing, right? Yes, representing. To represent values in spreadsheet, you have 5 different charts. You can mention any chart you want. The problem. But I would not recommend using pie chart, even though you can represent using pie chart. It is not suitable to represent pie chart here. So, but again, any chart you mention is correct. But if you ask my recommendation would be first preference column chart, second preference line chart, third preference bar chart, fourth preference XY scatter chart, and least preference pie chart. Technically, here all are correct. The reason I think all are correct is because this question is talking about representing his data. So represent data or any charts can be used. There is no thing. But because they're saying appropriate chart type, out of all the appropriate chart types are these 3. For this situation, these are 3 appropriate chart types. Huh? So sometimes in certain schools, they might give marks only for these 3. They might not give marks for X, Y, and pie chart. Be careful. But practically all are correct. How will column chart represent this? Why? I can have a column chart like this. X axis here, Y axis here. So I can have values like this. For example, 0, 1, 2, 3. Not 0, 1, 2, 3. Here the lowest value we have is -2. -2, 0, 4, 10. It goes to 0, -2, 0, 4, 10. And then the values of y's will be, sorry, the value of x, the smallest value of x is -2. So the values of x go, not smallest value, the values of x, -2, -1, 0, 1 kilo values of x goes. Values of y will be 0, and then I can put here 5, 10, 15, and here I can put what do you call -5, -10 somewhere. No space, I'll draw it here. The column chart might look something like this, but I'm not going to show the values, but if I draw the values, it might look something like this. It can go up and down. For positive values of x, it can go up. Negative values of, sorry, positive values of y, it can go up. Negative values of y, it can go down. Sometimes. That's how the column chart looks like. Got it, Hariba? Hmm. I told it thrice, Ryan. Just now was I told it. Because I knew that. So I again told it. Good, what's the record? Will it come below the x line? Yeah, because value of y is a negative values of there. Actually, here y is negative. So y is negative. Probably this will be 0. And this will be 1, 2, 5, 10. Left. So if it's negative values, it will come down. As the example, I'm just using random numbers here. But yeah. So if you mention column chart, line chart, bar chart, out of these, if you mention one of the charts, did any of you mention pie chart and express curve chart? I don't want to give marks, but Joel mentioned don't give marks actually because they're asking appropriate chart. That's not appropriate. Mention the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. Tell me out of 10 marks, how many marks you got here? Up in the chat, out of 10 marks, how many marks you got? Others, if I have any questions, Ramesh, can we do this in the pie chart? Practically, yes, but it's not suitable. Because pie chart just mentions of values. In negative numbers, it will show us the count of negative numbers. Something like that. It's complex. Forget about it. Do the corrections all of here. Okay. So yeah, it's 6 o'clock now. We're done for the day. If you will have any questions, I can stay and ask. Others, I can leave. Anyone have any questions? 4:30 to 6 o'clock. Okay, with Jayas. Anyways, anyone have any questions? Chart 3. I think. You mean this one? Good, good, good. Good job, Ariba. It's actually good marks. I'll get the marks actually from you all in the class. Why XY scatter is not appropriate? Imagine, let's say, in a classroom, there are two water bottles. Okay. And let's say what you called, you're now in the, what do you call, you're in the this one. Not two water bottles. Let's say there's two big boxes. Two boxes. This is one box, the another box. And now let's say you all are in this is a classroom. In the classroom, there are two boxes. And now all of you have come to the grounds to play. Now you want to go and bring that box and come. One person can carry one box. So if one person can carry one box, what will happen? If two people go, they can carry the boxes. This fellow can carry this box, this fellow can carry this box, and they can come to the grounds. Is it necessary for three people or four people or five people to go just to carry two boxes, which where one person can carry one box. Is it necessary? Same thing. XY scalar chart is not, even though XY scalar chart can represent two sets of data. X is representing, if you see here, this is one set of, what I mean two sets of data is this is one set of data. The values of X, this is one set of data. Collection of data about one person. This is a collection of data about X. This is a collection of data about Y. So we have two sets of data. Using column chart, line chart, bar chart, you can easily represent two sets of data. XY scalar chart, you can represent two sets of data, but mostly XY scalar chart is used to represent more than two sets of data. If you have like three related sets of data, you can represent three sets of data, four sets of data using XY scalar chart. Okay. So it's unwanted, even though you can, it's also possible. If you want, I can show you where which chart is used. I might have a small note about that. Give me a moment. Think it should be this or this thing check here. Loading. I think this fellow has, that one has. I'll go to Google Drive instead. Statement and show no options. What is the size of this file? 137 MB. Give me 2 minutes and I'll show you the video. In terms of the charts here. And these are the functions we have. Charts. This is how the charts will look like. Bar chart, column chart, line chart, pie chart, X, Y curve chart. And this is something called this blue and green. This is something called a stack column chart. It is the summary of charts actually. So if you don't, I can just take a screenshot of here. Anyways, anyone have any questions? Okay. As there's no other questions, I'm going to the meeting. If there's anything, WhatsApp me and get them right back. Have a nice day.